Hey guys, welcome back! In 2016 we celebrate the 15 years of the American release of the original Xbox, so it's a perfect time to point out my 10 favorite video games for that amazing system. Let's take a look! November of 2001 was when we saw and touched for the very first time a console system from Microsoft. In its early years, it was seen as a sort of spiritual successor of the Dreamcast, cause many of Sega's franchises lived on in the Xbox. By the time the Xbox was out, the Dreamcast had already been discontinued, and Peter Moore, by then president of Sega of America, has been labeled as the Dreamcast killer, cause he was the one that pulled the plug on the console's manufacturing. The fact is that afterwards, by 2003, he was hired by Microsoft to work on the next-gen's Xbox. So the early years of the Xbox were like a song for the Dreamcast. Sega chairman Isao Okawa visited Bill Gates several times trying to convince him to add Dreamcast compatibility into the Xbox, and by doing that, Dreamcast customers would certainly migrate to Microsoft's console. It would have been a win-win situation for both Sega and Microsoft, but Mr. Gates declined Okawa's proposal. The DirectX box, as it was known, offered out of the box an integrated Ethernet port and was the first console ever to feature a built-in hard drive for save games and other stuff that users could download directly from the Xbox Live online service that would come a year later in November of 2002. Also, safety features must be highlighted, like this breakaway cable that prevented the console from being pulled off, causing all sorts of damage. The system was conceived by a team of 4 engineers in their own free time, trying to create a PC-based console that could rival the next generation systems that would arrive soon. They ended up presenting their idea to Microsoft's CEO, and well, the rest is history. The Xbox was born. Coding for this new system was really easy for developers. As said, the system was basically a high-end PC, based in the Windows kernel and obviously DirectX technology. The Duke was the original controller for the Xbox, inspired on the design of the one from the Dreamcast. At least for its A, B, X, Y buttons, respective colors, triggers and expansion slots. Later, the official controller for the Xbox became the Model S, the one that was bundled in Japan right from the beginning. And every time I look at my Xbox or Xbox 360 controllers, the Dreamcast comes in mind. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the first man/client on Earth to own an Xbox, and the system sold out quickly after its American launch. 24 million consoles were sold, 16 million of them in US soil only. So, without further ado, let's take a look at my 10 plus 3 favorite video games for the original Xbox.
Crimson Skies, I Rode to Revenge.
One of the most underrated Xbox games nowadays, considered as a cult classic. It was a breath of fresh air into the gaming scene, a unique title from Microsoft Studios that was only available on the Xbox platform. Later was also released for the Xbox 360 through the Xbox Live Marketplace. It suffered a few delays, but the wait was worth it, cause many extra features ended up being included, like Xbox Live support. Developers wanted to expand the formula of its predecessor with a more Indiana Jones-like sky adventure, if you know what I mean, and you can see the Indiana Jones influence right in the game's cover, drawn by Drew Struzan, the responsible for the Man in the Hat movie posters. Many things can be said about this awesome title, so If you like this arcade flight shooter type of games, go get it! The original boxed game works fine on the 360.
Doom 3.
Haven't played yet the console version of the newest entry in the series, so my favorite Doom experience on a console system is right here with this third chapter. Loved it on the PC and relived it recently on my 360. Yes, it's supported and it's freaking scary. Since the very first Silent Hill on the PlayStation that I haven't felt the presence of that fear factor in every step that I made. I can't simply recall how many times I had to wash my pants after playing Doom 3. The atmosphere, the almost real-life-like environments, the freaking scary monsters and the claustrophobic feeling got me hooked both on the PC and on the Xbox. Surprisingly, the console port holds up pretty damn well with its amazing smooth and friendly gamepad controls. I was really impressed by how good it felt to play it on the Xbox. But even so, the good old mouse and keyboard are still my favorite weapons in this genre. And Doom 2 is still my favorite from the whole franchise.
Project Gotham Racing and Project Gotham Racing 2.
Bizarre Creations was known as Raising Hell Software back in 1990, just when Psygnosis gave them the chance to emerge in this highly competitive business with this simple and addictive title for the most popular 16-bit systems of the time. Later went on developing amazing racing titles, the fabulous Formula 1 for the PS1 and PC, Metropolis Street Racer for the Dreamcast, the Project Gotham Racing series for Xbox and Xbox 360, and Blur also for the 360, PS3 and PC. All these games are favorites of mine, and focusing solely on the Xbox, obviously the spiritual successor to Metropolis Street Racer was the amazing Project Gotham Racing, another proof that the Xbox is a sort of stepbrother of the Dreamcast. It was a launch title for the American release of the Xbox and it still looks amazing nowadays. 2 years later came the obvious sequel, Project Gotham Racing 2, that must be played side to side with the original. Both feature unique characteristics that sets them apart from all other racing games of the time, cause in PGR, winning isn't enough to advance to the next race. What a challenge!
Rallisport Challenge and Rallisport Challenge 2.
I love rally games and I couldn't simply pass out Rallisport Challenge. Played it firstly on the PC and, being an arcade racer, it would appeal to all Sega Rally fans and eventually make them migrate from the Dreamcast to the Xbox. The first title was released a couple of months after the console's debut and was extremely well received and praised by the press. It features 29 cars and 4 racing disciplines: basic rally races from point A to point B, rallycross, hill climb and ice racing. This one is compatible with the Xbox 360, something that was left aside for the second title of the series. In Rallisport Challenge 2, cars are divided into 5 categories and offers cockpit camera that was lacking in the first game. So, besides rally, ice racing, rallycross and hill climb, we're given the chance to participate in Group B and Classics events. Both games were developed by Digital Illusions, known today as DICE, that brought us, in the past, amazing pinball titles like Pinball Dreams and Pinball Fantasies, two favorites of mine that you can check out in PixelThing's episode 86.
Ninja Gaiden
The Ninja Gaiden franchise comes a long way. Played so freaking much the arcade original from 1988 that, as you know, here in Europe was known as Shadow Warriors, that, being such a huge arcade smash, ended up being ported in early 90s to the most popular home computers and consoles. So I obviously got my hands on a pirated copy of the Amiga version and I simply loved it. 16 years after the original arcade game, Team Ninja resurrected Ninja Gaiden and produced this amazing and extremely violent game that even got censored in some regions. It may have a really poor story attached and camera views can be frustrating, but the intense action compensates all that. An official online Master Ninja tournament took place across North America, Europe and Japan, with thousands of players competing for a place in the live final, which was held during the 2004's Tokyo Game Show. This is a really difficult game and save spots are few and far between, but again, the combat sequences alone are worth it. Ninja Gaiden is one of the few video games that has the power to make us feel like we've conquered something great.
Shenmue 2.
As shown in the beginning of this video, Shenmue 2 was probably the biggest bet that would make Dreamcast owners migrate to Microsoft's console. Yes, there was also a Dreamcast version of Shenmue 2, but I never played this second title on Sega's last system. And Microsoft made a bold move, securing the rights for an Xbox version of Shenmue 2, being this one, the only version of Shenmue 2 available in the United States, Xbox's strongest market. Even so, it sold poorly. So what's new in Shenmue 2?
This time.
The scope and scale are incomparable to the first game. It's massive, it's gorgeous, and I love getting lost at the arcades. Now, seriously, Yu Suzuki masterfully expanded Shenmue's formula to such a huge level that I would get lost frequently.
See you around.
But that wasn't a bad thing. I was always discovering new places, new characters, and get completely involved in this astonishing plot. We control once again Ryu Azuki, still in pursuit of his father's killer, and this, let's call it, enhanced port of the Dreamcast original features English voice acting, improved frame rates, lighting, filter effects, etc. Shenmue 2 is an interactive movie, a compelling adventure, and a worthwhile experience.
The true nature of things.
OutRun 2.
I'm a bit divided here. Don't know if I prefer OutRun 2 or the 2006 coast-to-coast version. For the Xbox I only have OutRun 2, that is another amazing exclusive for the system, so I guess I'm gonna go for this one. OutRun 2 was an extremely well-made arcade original game by Sega AM2 and ported to the Xbox by Sumo Digital, that released it in October of 2004 for the delight of fans all over the world. They also added 480p anamorphic widescreen support for everyone that would have a components cable connected, and the game looks gorgeous in 480p. But that wasn't all. They managed to include the original game, remixed audio tracks from the timeless OutRun soundtrack, extra tracks and vehicles, and plenty of extra missions to keep us entertained for quite some time. Here's another proof that magazines and websites can really influence players' choices regarding video games. I can't simply comprehend why reviews were so deceiving. These were certainly made by people that didn't live the arcade experience of late 80s. In consequence, OutRun 2 sold really poorly. I can't recommend it enough. It also runs smoothly on the Xbox 360, so go get it! It's a must-have title.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords.
played the first Knights of the Old Republic exclusively on the PC, and this second venture, The Sith Lords, was one of my first experiences on Microsoft's first console. BioWare passed the ball over to Obsidian Entertainment, but that wasn't a bad thing. Obsidian is like a brother to BioWare and would normally make sequels to BioWare's blockbusters. And what I like about Obsidian is its darker and edgier vision of things. Hell, they came from Black Isle Studios that brought amazing PC gems like Fallout 2 and Planescape Torment. That's why I love this second title, probably more than the first one. And that's when I fell in love for the Xbox. Even so, it wasn't enough to place it in number 1 of my personal top 10. The Sith Lord starts 5 years after the first game and 4,000 years before Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, placing us in control of an exiled Jedi Knight in a time when the Jedi have been nearly exterminated by the Sith. So our mission is quite simple: gather the remaining forces and defeat the Sith. As simple as that. But between that, we'll experience an overwhelming dark and obscure plot set in this fictional Star Wars universe that I've always loved and praised.
So you've come to die like the Jedi before you.
The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay.
What an underrated stealth adventure this is! Back in 2004, Starbreeze Studios and Vin Diesel worked together to bring this amazing adventure that works as a prequel to the Chronicles of Riddick movie that premiered 2 days after the game's release. Tell me, have you enjoyed Wolfenstein: The New Order? If the answer is yes, then you'll love Escape from Butcher Bay, cause many of its developers went on working on the most recent entries in the Wolfenstein franchise. With amazing weapons, extremely addictive gameplay, and an amazing story, both of the PC and Xbox versions of this game just slipped through my fingers back when they were released. The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay is the only title included in this top 10 that I never played before making this episode. It was one of my first pickups for the Xbox, and I had no idea that I would be completely addicted to it. It's really awesome when this happens. Discover old games that can still leave us speechless. I'm sure that I will be surprised in the future with a lot other titles that passed completely under the radar.
Now you're gonna die.
Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2.
What can be said about the Halo series? It's video gaming at its best, and being the first Halo a launch title for the Xbox, it still looks and plays amazingly 15 years later. And we can't forget how important the first game of the franchise was for FPSs on consoles. And just like Shenmue 2, we feel like we're part of a living and breathing parallel universe that will make us wander around, simply contemplating and enjoying the scenery and textures around us. The Halo franchise is Microsoft's own Star Wars. It feels like we're playing an interactive movie, accompanied by a superb film-like soundtrack in where we're asked to make important tactical decisions regarding the weapon system implemented. If I recall correctly, Halo was my second experience on Microsoft's console. It came bundled with my Xbox along with Midtown Madness 3 and a demo of Dead or Alive 3. Unfortunately, my first Xbox died, but I still have it wrapped up inside the box. And I couldn't simply forget about Halo 2 that, besides its weaker story, but amazing and staggering audiovisual beauty, helped to cement online gaming on consoles. And let's not forget the introduction of dual-wielding weapons that was very welcomed, thank you! So guys, here you have it, my 10 plus 3 favorite titles that I play on my Xbox and Xbox 360, but a lot others are almost as good and deserve being mentioned, so to conclude, here's a few honorable mentions. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this look at my favorite titles for the original Xbox, and I feel the need to explain why there's no Grand Theft Auto games included. Well, as you know, GTA 3, Vice City and San Andreas were PS2 exclusives for a long period of time, and when they were released for the Xbox, I simply prefer to get them for the PC. Feel free to post below your own favorites for this amazing system. I'm always looking for new games that I've never heard of, and you guys have been such a huge help in showing me some amazing gems that practically no one talks about. And also, if you had a blast watching this video, just like, share and subscribe to itsaPIXELthing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.